So today I'm going to talk about the correlation between boundaries and immunity. And it's pretty self-explanatory when you just look at what immunity is, right? Immunity is your body's ability to cope with pathogens and eliminate them. And so if we think about what that has to do with boundaries, it's pretty easy to figure out what you might be doing in your life that would be leading to your immunity being low. Namely, not holding firm boundaries, allowing yourself, often in the name of being a good person, of being a tolerant person, of being understanding, being willing to take things that are very unhealthy for you. So I really want you to contemplate this, right? If you suffer with chronic illness or autoimmune disease, although the body doesn't literally attack itself, it is a good metaphor for the fact that we attack ourselves because we don't protect the fortress. We don't even have a fortress if we are just allowing whatever into our lives. So I've noticed something really interesting about empathic people, and so have others, so have doctors, so has Gabor Mate. And that is that empathic people, often women, but not only women, especially those who are unhealthy and unhealthy empathy, mistaking poor boundaries for compassion and things like that, not able to say no when the body says no. Those people who attract narcissistic personality structures, the empathic person tends to present more with autoimmune conditions and chronic disease, whereas the narcissistic person often doesn't. And if they get health problems, it's usually later in life, and it's usually more sudden, like a heart issue or whatever. So why is that? Why, right? If chronic illness and autoimmune is primarily the body's inability to cope with pathogens, namely viral loads, molds, fungus, bacteria, and therefore, right, we are creating a feeding ground for these things to live in unhealthy numbers in our body. What are we doing to ourselves? Well, the answer is one of the big connections to immunity is the inability to say no, the inability to hold boundaries, the inability to have the willingness to sit with oneself and the amplitude of your emotions. Because if you had to cut someone out of your life that doesn't belong, right, be immune, be the immune system, get rid of that pathogen. And not that, by the way, nothing is toxic. I hate that rhetoric. Oh, get rid of toxic people. Nothing is toxic. Everything is a gift from the Creator to help you grow. However, it is useful to think of, right, obviously someone who abuses you or who manipulates you is not healthy for your life. So the Creator sent you someone perhaps to help you build a fortress, to help you improve your immunity, because the Creator wants to give you everything. So you have to have the ability to sit with whatever you're avoiding by being connected to things that are not healthy for you. That's the biggest thing. Whether it's aloneness, whether it's loneliness, who would you be if you didn't have interpersonal drama in your life? That's a very scary question for the ego, but the reality is that while you're in the void, disconnecting from everything that keeps you your old small self, you have so much free energy to create your life, to feel the aliveness that is present in every moment, and to feel yourself strong and guided from within, and that you're never alone because you have the God in you and you have all of the resources that are always walking with you. But it's interesting that again, like, why is it? And we could take notes from these people. People like narcissists who can easily cut you off, easily cut you out of their life, who withdraw love, who some of them, and this is also an aspect of sociopathy, they have something called object impermanence, which is, oh, when you're not around me, you don't exist. So they're not going to be plagued with feelings of guilt if they're cheating on you or doing anything wrong, because they actually have kind of an immune ability. And by the way, this is not something to strive for. This is just something to notice. Like, why is it that people who behave in unconscious ways seem to be, in some cases, healthier and wealthier? Is because they can keep out what they don't want in themselves, which is anything that would challenge their idea of who they are, anything that would make them feel rejected, right? Instead of dealing with those feelings, they cut them out. And obviously that's a very destructive path to walk. But the reason why specifically their health and wealth benefits from that is because they are successfully able to keep out what they don't want in their palace, right? And that might be a palace built on quicksand. But the point here is I want to teach you, I want you to contemplate this idea that if you want to attract a partner that respects you, you need to respect yourself. You need to, and in some cases, that might mean that almost everyone in your life, like if you have really low self-worth and you're doing an inventory and you're trying to raise your immunity and raise your self-worth, that might mean like cutting out a lot of stuff in your life. And that's going to leave you with yourself. And that's going to leave you with all the emotions that you're escaping all the time, that you're escaping by connecting with the familiar. So first, I just want to say, I want to really drive home, whatever you're afraid of feeling is worth feeling. Is so much more worth going into than keeping yourself small and making decisions based on low self-worth and keeping things in your life that aren't good for you, aren't healthy for you. And you know what? Your health is worth it. Your health is worth it. Nothing is toxic. Everything ultimately is love. Everything is a gift from the Creator. But if you have chronic health problems, you might suffer from the delusion that you might have a false image of yourself, which is that you're some, like forgiving, compassionate, tolerant person by allowing things in your life that are hurting you. Whereas the truth is that you're just killing yourself essentially by allowing toxins, allowing yourself to ingest toxins. No matter how open your heart is, it's never going to, if your compassion doesn't extend to you and your body and your life, then it's incomplete. First and foremost, the compassion needs to start with yourself, and then true compassion, right? Because the world is holographic, then you will be able to embody true compassion, which may very well not be being nice to someone, right? Sometimes the most compassionate thing to do is to help somebody be accountable for their actions, whether that's just cutting them out of your life because that's the consequence of them, behaving in the way they've been behaving, whether it's that they are rude to you, whether it's that they steal from you, whatever. That's the compassionate thing to do, not to stay there like our mistaken image of what it means to be, like a divine feminine and just take it. No, that's going to send you right into Hashimoto's, lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, MS, and the list goes on. So if you want good health, you need to think of yourself like a fortress. Not that you need to be guarded and protect yourself, but you have to have standards. You have to have high standards of what you allow. A lot of people, by the way, I started noticing this, people who teach the law of attraction and unconditional love, I would go to their seminars, like Dr. Joe and Esther Hicks and all these people, and I would notice, like, I had a broken image of who I thought they were based on something I was projecting, because I thought they were just like these soft, ooey gooey, like unconditionally loving people, which they are. They do embody a lot of that energy, but they also have impeccable standards. Their staff is impeccable. They are organized. They don't just let anybody grab them and talk to them. They care about themselves. They preserve and revere their own energy. And only from that place do you really have anything to give. So, bottom line, if you're struggling with health, look at your boundaries. Look at what you're allowing, because wealth and health is, it's almost entirely about self-worth. Self-worth. And every decision you make is a reflection of what you think, of how much you love yourself. How much you love yourself. So again, the thing that we fear the most by actually holding a boundary is often that we're going to be alone, that we're going to lose things. And you know what? Highly likely you will lose things and people. And you have to revere your own life more, the integrity of your life, your health, your peace. You have to revere that more than anything, any connection in the world that you are afraid to lose. And trust me, just watch your health problems disappear. Also, another thing that has to do with immunity is out of boredom and out of a proper connection with the God within. A lot of people let themselves become upset and angry or just revved up, whether it's because of politics or whether, it's because of like some weird stuff happening in the world or outrage. It's like, again, that's just another example. That's you not having good boundaries with yourself. You have to value peace and gentleness and tenderness more than the excitement you get from being outraged and revved up by things in the world. And by the way, I don't think being outraged is a bad thing. I think it can give you a message that maybe there's something you really care about that you need to be engaged with. But to stay outraged, that's just stupid. Unless you just want to be sick, unless you want liver issues, unless you want adrenal fatigue, unless you want kidney problems, unless you want heart problems. You have to have the inner discipline. That's the inner fortress. You have to, if you want a happy, healthy, wealthy kingdom, you have to reign from a place of peace and love. You can't just out of boredom go find a reason to pick a fight with someone or with yourself or someone in your head or with the world. Unless, of course, you just want to be sick. So I'm speaking from experience. I had cancer. I had an eating disorder. I had Hashimoto's. I've had all kinds of stuff, and I have none of that. And it's been a rough ride because I was like, wait a minute, like, I really do feel like I'm coming from a good place when I give this person another chance or when I am willing to. But what I notice is that what my ego thought was me being kind, the net result was like my battery just draining and draining and draining and draining. Before I knew it, I would be hanging on by a thread. And this is a form of masochism, and this is a form of martyrdom. It's a form of sacrificing myself in the name of, helping others or blah, 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 which is a bullshit. So anyway, I hope this is helpful and I hope you have a beautiful day.